It's a Monday. The sun is shining. Keegs, Kyle, and Dan. And I always start with the positives on the weekend for the Blue Jays. Another series win. And Kaz Okamoto has finished his month-long introduction to. He had to fill out paperwork while at the plate. He had to get used to everything that happens in Major League Baseball. That is over. He is now. Oh, sorry, it was a tied series. Producer Tim is in my ear. So Kaz Okamoto is now well adjusted. He's passed his introduction to the MLB.
They were pretty too. I mean, they were majestic home runs. Big, high, no doubters. He hit that one 452, I think it was, to a part of target field where guys just don't hit home runs. And his swing, guys, we've talked about it for a long time. His swing is gorgeous. Like, it is the type of swing that other hitters on the Blue Jays wish they had outside of Vladdy. And we've been talking about that kind of theoretically in the abstract up until now. Now you know what it looks like. It is incredible to watch him at his best. He completely changes this lineup. Like, this lineup is desperate for power. And if Vladdy is going to be more of a batting title guy than a home run crown guy, cool. Like, hitting 350 is still cool. It's all right. But you need someone else to have power. And Okamoto, like, if Okamoto guys can kind of slip into that Edwin Encarnacion role, batting number 4, fantastic. Like, he looks better. Like, this past weekend was better than I thought we would see him at any point this year. So he's going to have slumps. Yeah, he's going to struggle, blah, blah, blah. But this is a look at his ceiling. And because we have seen this ceiling, guys, the next time he goes 0 for 15, adjusting to the major leagues, it'll be easier to stomach because you know what is possible. Up until now, we were kind of dreaming on potential and what he did in Japan. Will it translate? I mean, hell yeah. Like, this guy is on pace to blow past 30 home runs, take a run at 40. I know it's May 4th, whatever, but he is proving that his power translates. And that is because in Japan, he was not hitting wall scrapers like 401. He was launching, right? And that's going to translate to big league ballparks. You see him now making very noticeable adjustments with where he's standing a little further back in the box. That's letting him get to more pitches. He is committing to pitches. You're not seeing those little hesitant half swings anymore. It's exciting, man. That's the best thing happening with the Blue Jays right now.
And Keegan, if I'm not terribly mistaken, for all this talk on him adjusting to big league pitching, did he not hit those 4 home runs on 4 different pitches? Is that not correct?
And big league pitchers need to adjust to him too. Like, he is hitting off-speed stuff, and he's hitting the fastball. He's barreling up the changeups. That's what's exciting. What would worry me, and that's a great point you're making, what would worry me is if he was killing fastballs, but major league breaking balls were just wrecking him. You see that happen with top prospects who come up all the time, where they can hit a big league fastball because everyone throws 100. I don't care if you're in single A, double A, triple A, the big leagues. There's going to be somebody who throws 100. It's not that impressive anymore. But when you get up to the big leagues and you see Dylan Cease's slider, that will make you look stupid. When you see Kevin Gausman's splitter, that'll make you look stupid because you don't see that quality in the minor leagues. Or when a player is coming from Japan or Korea over to the North American game, that's often where the difference is. For Japanese hitters, guys, we often talk about the velocity a bit more because in Japan, traditionally, now this is a generalization that's becoming a bit less accurate as Japanese pitching improves significantly, but we typically talk about Japanese hitters coming over not having faced the high heat, the 98 right at the letters. Japanese pitching is typically more touch and feel, more location, breaking balls off speed. So to see Okamoto catching up to 97 and 98 and not just lining it the other way, but turning on it, I mean, damn. Like, this really is, guys, more impressive than I thought we'd see all year. And I know there's going to be more struggles, but this is just so exciting for the organization right now because the contract they have him on, too. I mean, he's going to blow past that if he keeps playing any way like this. And I keep coming back to that Encarnacion comp, guys. I know Edwin is one of the all-time greats in the city. I'm not saying they're the same player, but I mean that type of hitter, the guy who can just clean up everything in the number 4 spot and change a game with one swing. This is a team that needs some games to be changed.
And he's not just doing it with the big swings. whenever, like, if I'm out and about and I've got to check the box score, oh, the Jays have a little thing going on here. He's always right in the mix. He's getting on base.
You saw that with that drive back up the middle. He's a true RBI guy, I think is what we're learning. And 5 years ago, even guys, I would have told you that's BS. It's luck, it's blah, blah, blah. It's about the situation, who's on base in front of you. I have come to believe that being an RBI guy is a real thing. And you are pitched differently with a man standing on second base. Some guys, their heart rate is going to be 10 or 20 beats higher. Some guys stay the same. And being an RBI guy does not mean that you are Shohei Ohtani. Like, it's a different trait, Think of, I'm going back through Blue Jays history, like Joe Carter, like outside of the walk-off. Like Joe Carter, regular season Joe Carter, was not winning MVP awards, but he was an RBI guy. Like, he would come through with runners on base, runners in scoring position. If he needed the sac fly, whatever it was, he had a knack for getting runners home. It wasn't a silver bullet, but he was 5% better at it than everyone else. And in baseball, that 5% makes one hell of a difference. And I think Kazuma Okamoto has that extra 5%, that ability to stay calm in those moments, to hit different pitches, and to adapt. You're going to get pitched differently with a guy on third base and one out than you will leading off an inning. And I don't think many hitters adjust to that properly. It looks like Okamoto is doing that. And to have that behind Vladdy, who's getting on base at a ridiculous clip, is a huge advantage.
Keegan, Dylan Cease had another start over this series, and we're now seeing sort of the full range of what he brings to the table here. Some nights he's 12 Ks in 5 or 6 innings, but he's also capable of grinding out a start in which he doesn't have his best stuff, but eating up enough innings to give the bullpen a rest and keep the Blue Jays in games.
Yeah, he called this one gritty. And before the outing, before Dylan Cease's outing, I asked John Schneider about this. And was it because I was trying to get a head start on my story and get out of Minneapolis quicker? No comment. But before Dylan Cease's outing, I said, would you rather have 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, or 7 innings and 7 strikeouts? And John Schneider said, like, hell yeah, sign me up for 7 and 7. Give me length. And Dylan Cease did exactly that. 7 innings, 7 strikeouts. It was not dominant. It was not the prettiest thing that we have ever seen. But guys, at the end of the day, like, I know that we can spend forever talking about pitch metrics, talking about a guy's FIP, talking about every single expected stat that goes into pitching. How much Dylan Cease's slider moves. It'll blow the models away. At the end of the day, the end of a season and the end of a game, all that actually matters is how many innings did you pitch and how many runs scored. The way you get there, of course, is what we're going to talk about all season. But how long did you go and how many runs scored? And if Dylan Cease is throwing 6 or 7 innings every time out instead of 5 1/3, suddenly you are talking about a pitcher who's giving you 185 innings, not 160. That's a huge difference, especially when you have a rotation spot right now that is like Eric Lauer, question mark, maybe Jose Barrios. That doesn't look like a good situation right now. You can't have a bad day where your starter only goes 4 innings. So to see Dylan Cease do that's really encouraging. That's more encouraging to me than striking out 12. I know he can do that. And if he does that in the playoffs, cool. Like, great. You probably win the ball game. But being able to do it both ways is what makes you worth $210 million. So that was a real good one for Dylan Cease, even though it didn't look flashy.
Trey Savage's second start of the season was not flashy, but it was a serviceable start in which he put his team in place to win, only giving up 1 run, and then he was let down by Braden Fisher. So no concern, I'm assuming, from Savage's second start of the season.
No, looked good. It kind of similar to Dylan Cease's in that he was not overwhelming people, but I think to the 3rd inning on Sunday, bases loaded, Royce Lewis at the plate, you're in a 3-1 count. He could have lost the game completely there. Walk Royce Lewis, you give up some hard contact, the inning blows open, the game's over. And Trey Savage threw him 2 really good fastballs, swinging strike, then a swinging strikeout, strike 3. To see him make those big pitches in big spots is really encouraging because we talked about it earlier in Savage's rehab assignment, but everyone throws 100. Everyone has a slider or a splitter or something that is going to trick MLB hitters. Baseball is full of young 22-year-old guys who can come up and strike people out. That's great. It's a start. But we see over and over again, my God, over again, how often these pitchers only last a year or two. Sometimes their elbow blows out, but sometimes the league just adjusts. And when they take away your superpower, which for Trey Savage is that splitter, how will you react? Like, do you have a second to move? Or are you just trying to land that one haymaker over and over and over? It looks like Savage can do it the other way. That's really encouraging. That is how you get to the point where Kevin Gausman is. Like, Gausman's the example I use, guys, all the time. When he does not have his splitter, he can still work. When he's only throwing 90, like, he still works. Like, I promise he has not blown his elbow. Sometimes he just throws 90. He doesn't know why. I don't know why. But Kevin Gausman has a good B game. And I think Trey Savage is developing it. You know, there's a long way to go, but that's how you stay in the league, not the top end stuff. You stay in the league by figuring it out on a day where you slept bad and you feel crappy and you don't have your best stuff. That's how you stick around.
Keegs, I really hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but I've been spending a lot of time recently thinking about George Springer's feet. And what I was thinking this weekend was, why was that foot not heavily guarded since he's so recently back in the lineup, having just come back from a broken toe?
That was unreal. I couldn't believe that he caught a pitch.
It's nuts.
You never see it happen. We talked to George in the clubhouse just quickly Sunday morning, and he was saying, like, even on the ground, like, yeah, I was wincing at first, but then I just started laughing. Like, I think there was some level of reinforcement within the shoe, I believe, but on top, it's not really a place you can get to. It's weird because when you have the foot coming down, typically you cover the lower shin and the ankle onto the top of the foot,
Right.
but out by the toe, you know, you don't want to be running with hooves on out there, right? So it's a hard place, and
foot, so it's turning inward slightly with every swing, so it's probably not as easy to mount
yeah,
something.
a weird spot. And I guess the only time I've gotten an injury update of, like, there's no new fracture, just the original one. Like,
Perfect.
sick. All right, that's great. You know, that's really great. I'm expecting him to play tonight, Monday in Tampa. If not tonight, then probably tomorrow. Like, I don't think it's an IL thing whatsoever. He's just beaten to crap at this point. And George, I don't believe has played an outfield game yet this season. I need to double check his logs, but all-time DH now, and I think he just stays full-time, guys. Like, emergency, maybe mid-season, late in the season, you'll see him ramp up with a handful of outfield games just to be ready for the playoffs, just in case. Just DH time, you know? And then if you hit a ground ball and you need to sprint to first, you can max out for 5 seconds. That's okay. But after all of this stuff, man, I mean, he's not going to stand around the outfield on the turf. And, yeah, it's been a bad week to be George Springer, fellas.
With each passing day, if Jays fans didn't already know, we're seeing the importance of Alejandro Kirk, and I believe he's still about a month away.
Probably a few weeks at the very least, yeah.
So that raises the question, because I gauge the pulse of Jays fans by the texts I receive from friends. And Tyler Heineman does not want to see texts from my friends.
Probably not. That was a weird day yesterday. The way it happened, I think the chronology of it's important here. Number one, Tyler Heineman was allowed to hit with the bases loaded and 2 out.
Come on!
I did not agree with that. And I don't think many people did. Then he is immediately removed between innings for Brandon Valenzuela, who I thought might have been a sensible pinch hit option. And Heineman popped out to left field, shallow left field, on the first pitch. And I think another factor in this, guys, is that, like, when hitting coaches and managers talk about bad at-bats, people's minds usually go to a strikeout. Like, if a hitter gets a couple big swings off and strikes out, there are times where they're okay with that. Pop fly outs really annoy hitting coaches and managers, like, more than people are aware. Yeah. So he's removed. I went downstairs after the game assuming that Heineman was hurt, because that's the only way it made sense for him to have hit and then left the game then. Heineman's been dealing with a bit of a back thing, so I thought that's what was going on. And John Schneider said, manager's decision. He was asked by a reporter, okay, can you elaborate? He said, no, manager's decision, Heine's in there, which is his way of saying you can go in and ask Tyler Heineman. What I should have asked right then was, why did he hit? But frankly, I kind of got sidetracked by it's a manager's decision. Let's follow this. So I'll be interested to hear more on that reasoning, but didn't ask it in the moment. We went in and spoke to Heineman. He owned it fully, and credit to him for talking to us and leaning into it. But he said, "Listen, like John Schneider, he's the best manager I've ever played for. I respect it." Which reading between the lines is like, yeah, okay, I effed something up. So what we saw was the at bat and him popping up. What we don't know are the full details, and some of that stays in the clubhouse. That's cool. That's how this gig works. Maybe, and this is all theoretical, maybe there was a take sign on and he swung through it. Those are the places my mind goes. Maybe it was an accumulation of things that led up to that at bats the Jays didn't like. So I think there's maybe just one little detail somewhere in there that we don't have. But regardless, this does not happen often. And for John Schneider to make that move, and then, he didn't air Heineman out. I think that Schneider actually did it the right way. He was just like, manager's decision, let him answer for it. That's part of the punishment. But it's this catching competition, guys, and Valenzuela's hit 2 homers in his last 3 starts. If Kirk was back today, Valenzuela's on the roster. That can change. Valenzuela has options and Heineman does not. If Heineman comes back and looks good again, it can change. But if Kirk's healthy today, Heineman's off the roster and Valenzuela stays. Like, Valenzuela has looked good. He's proven that he is a big league caliber catcher, of which there are not 60 in Major League Baseball. Like, every team does not have an MLB caliber backup. And Valenzuela's defensive game is really impressive. Like, he is impressing the right people. So this catching situation, guys, it surprised me. I thought it would take longer for this to flip, but I think it's flipped.
And he, of course, has great hair, Keegan, that cannot go without being mentioned.
He'll never bald.
No. So can we get an update on Jose Barrios? Or at this point, does it even matter because Patrick Corbin keeps providing quality starts and maybe that rotation spot's his anyhow?
Barrios one's a weird one. They would still love to see him back just to get rid of this bullpen Lauer day. That Eric Lauer is a different role every week. And has he handled that perfectly the whole time? No, I get it. But still, for his sake, I'd like to see him just be able to be one thing, And Jose Barrios' recent rehab outing was just not good. I mean, he got hit hard, allowed a few home runs, 4 walks. His sinker, which is his primary pitch, but essentially his fastball that he uses, was averaging 90.1 or 90.2. Like, that doesn't work. Like, he needs to be up 92, 93, 94. Yeah, it was a little chilly. That's an excuse that gets used too much in this market, I think. It's some ballparks are outside, okay? It's not below 0. So what's going on with Barrios right now is a big question mark. Is it the fact he has a crack in his elbow? Maybe. It doesn't seem like something that's beneficial, guys. But early in his rehab assignment, he was pitching with better velocity. I'm willing to accept that, like, the adrenaline of a minor league, major league game, that probably accounts for a mile an hour in there. If Jose was getting hit hard and he was up at 92.7 miles an hour, like, okay, whatever. Like, as long as the stuff's good, you trust him. But because his stuff has not been good, and I think he walked 4 batters, struck out just 1, that's worrying, guys. Like, that puts the Blue Jays in a spot where I think they might have to entertain continuing this rehab assignment just to get his stuff right, which is not what anyone wanted. This should have been his last one, but I'll be very interested to see what John Schneider says in Tampa today. It could be another one they kind of drag on for a few more days, honestly. But, like, the door is wide open for Barrios, man. It's wide open. He came into this season kind of fighting uphill. It's wide open, but again, he is pitching through a cracked elbow, and I have not covered someone who's done that. And while I do not want to go past the line of speculating if that's impacting him, I will at least say that it is not aiding him at this point. It is not helping the situation.
The door is not wide open for Yohendrick Piango, but he is standing in the doorway and they cannot close the door on him because he's making it an interesting situation for the Jays. Every time he makes an appearance, he seems to get on base. Small sample size. He's hitting close to 500. He's got swagger in the outfield. What are they going to do when this roster's healthy with Piango?
I can see the giveaway day next year, Dan. There'll be like the rub-on tattoos of the kiss that
Yes.
everyone can put on their neck. Um, when I see someone under the age of 50 with a kiss tattoo on their neck, like I am
Love it.
immediately intimidated. Yeah, it doesn't make me feel safer. Like I'm going to strike the guy out. Pinyango, there's some Addison Barger to this. I think he just swings like hell, man. Like he tries to do damage to the baseball. I like it. I think he's fitting in. The whole thing with Pinyango in the minor leagues was that he hit the ball very hard, but it was on the ground too much. And when you combine that with defensively, like he's not going to be an ace defensively. It's just not his jam. But if he can be passable in the corner outfield, like sure. And we've seen like in Davis Schneider how a guy can develop their corner outfield defense, even if they're not an elite athlete speed wise. Schneider's a good example. He's done a good job of that. So maybe Pinyango can do some of that at the major league level. But his bat in this lineup, like this lineup, very broadly speaking, just needs some juice, man. And Yohendrick Pinyango has juice. Like he can drive the ball, he can break a game open with one swing. Yeah, there will be some empty stuff in the middle of that, but whatever. Like this lineup needs something more than just a single that sneaks through the left side, And I think he is providing that. He's providing more than I thought he would. He really, really is. And I like guys that the Blue Jays are letting him roll with it. I think that's a good move by John Schneider, honestly. Like they batted him lead off yesterday, for God's sake. Like if you had told me in Dunedin that Hendrik Pinyango would be batting leadoff on May 3rd, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I previewing this season? Like I know anything, right? But I'd like to see him stick around as long as he can. When Lucas and Barger come back, it gets real tough. It's a bit of a jam. As we've learned this year, the probable answer is that someone else might be hurt by then. We'll see. But Pinyango has, outside of Brandon Valenzuela, like done as much as anyone on this roster to help himself.
Yeah.
So the Jays are in Tampa now, and this is their second interdivisional series of this young season. But this looks very, very different than when they played Boston, doesn't it?
Sure does. And
First of all,
Boston,
I can't believe you're not at the Trop.
Yeah, it's tough, When the schedule came out, I typically have a little bit of leeway to suggest here and there. I needed to be in Minneapolis. And then as much as I love the Trop, and I've had a few people tell me, like, wow, you didn't go to Tampa. I love the Trop, genuinely. Like people think it's a bit. I really love it. Like I pull up like it's a local hockey rink and just park against the building and like great press box. Great, like it's a really good experience for my job. I like being home way more. The money's the same, let me tell you. But so I'll go next time. I do miss my Trop. But man, these games really matter. Like I hate to sound dramatic, but I don't think it is dramatic. This division will come down to a tight race at the end. If the Blue Jays are going to make a run in this, it will come down to them, the Yankees, the Rays, who are 21-12. Like I've lost track of the Rays because they're not really part of the national conversation. But if the Jays are going to make a run at a wild card spot or this division, the Rays are going to be involved. And guys, we are going to be sitting here in late September talking about a tiebreaker between the Blue Jays and somebody. Maybe it's the Rays, the Yankees, maybe it's the Mariners and the wild card. It's going to be a topic with some sort of team. So these games matter double. Like these count for two. And man, like the Red Sox, when you compare it to when the Blue Jays played the Sox, I mean, the Red Sox are falling off the face of the earth. The once proud Boston Red Sox. But the Jays have a chance here, guys, to leave Tampa over 500. I know sweeping the Rays at the Trop is not the Blue Jays brand these days, but they keep getting close to that 500 where you can start a season. And I think that 500 mark matters, guys. Like just shake off April and May, start over, start fresh, have Addison Barger back and Alejandro Kirk. But these division games are so important. And I don't care if it's May, like we are going to be talking about them in September, especially when you're a team like the Blue Jays who will not be running away with the division. Obviously, they're going to be in some sort of tiebreaker scenario.
Keegs, we appreciate you. And can't wait to talk to you on Wednesday.
You got it, fellas.
That's Keegan Matheson, our Jays insider. And Kyle, I wanted to discuss the Toronto Maple Leafs before we close out here because they made a big announcement. They have a new GM, John Jacob. And I've given this a lot of thought because every Leaf fan that I've talked to is, I can't believe they hired this guy. He was kicked out of the NHL. And after sitting with it, I think it is a great decision by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm all about second chances. And this guy is still, 38? He learned his lesson on what not to do when you're in charge of a pro sports team. He has been sitting, thinking about hockey, analyzing hockey for the last however many years. He is going to be on his best behavior. You don't think he's coming in and he gave the Leafs a vision in which they didn't hear from another GM and they're like, holy crap, I've never heard another person in hockey even say those words, let alone want to implement it on this team. So I think the Toronto Maple Leafs have done a great service to their fan base because Jake is going to do things with this team that have never been done before.
Dan, I have to be honest with you. I completely disagree.
Okay. I knew you would.
Well, here's the thing, though. He might come in and do a really good job, but optically, this is coming across as a bit of a disaster. It's a bit of a disaster from the sense that this got announced before the Raptors game 7. That's the same.
That is, yes, boneheaded decision.
Boneheaded decision after boneheaded decision. What I tend to wonder here is, did he present a really good vision to this team, or was he their only option because no one else is willing to step into this dumpster fire? Because they do have a lot of trouble moving forward. And I don't even say any of this from the point of view of judging the man. The way he left the NHL, it didn't optically look great, but it was the NHL run Phoenix Coyotes. Like what are we talking about here? He's got a reputation perhaps as being a bit of a backdoor dealer, but that could just be bitter other GMs. Set all that aside. Optically, this doesn't look great for this team. The Matt Sundin thing they get a pass on. He's a Leafs legend. He doesn't have the experience, but you have to get it somewhere, right? And it's not like he's the GM of the team. I just wonder if this guy was their only choice at this point because they couldn't get someone else to step into this mess. I don't have the answer to that question. I will be talking to Pierre about it later today after the press conference, which I think is at 1:00. And I'm interested to hear his thoughts because I'm not 100% certain that they're changing their trajectory with this move at all.
I think it's an easy job to sell to anyone in hockey because you are sold you could be the one. You could be the one that will be remembered for the rest of these people's lives to bring a cup to Toronto. So it is a job everyone thinks they can fix something. They can fix someone, they can fix a team. Every GM thinks they can fix the Leafs. And a guy who thinks outside the box, who did things outside the box, might be the person that does that. I've had the other argument that people say, well, Keith Pelly, he'll say, okay, this isn't working and make the change. Keith Pelly does not have that option. Keith Pelly has to win now because it has not been a good start to him as head of MLSE. He knows what's on the table for him. So he's not taking a flyer on this guy saying, we've got someone in the wings. He knows exactly what is on the table.
And Dan, I will in fact concede you that point because what's not worked for this team has been just bringing in another good old boy, a good old hockey boy, right? The next guy in line, the tough coach,
exactly.
The GM that played with grit. So if there is optimism to be taken from this, and again, nothing I said before was really against his. Like, he doesn't have a resume. There's nothing.
I think your opinion's changing in real time here, Kyle.
No, it's not, because I still think optically this doesn't look great to the fan base, and I completely understand why. And I honestly think he was given this job because I don't think anyone else would take it, because I don't agree that if you look at the roster situation and the contract situation with this team, this is a mess for a GM to jump into. This is a tough fix. However, I do agree that the person that does eventually fix this in the next 40 to 80 years, they will be remembered as some sort of an NHL legend. And why not bring in a guy who is going to try something completely different? It can't get worse at this point. And there has to be some optimism there.
He went into that Leafs meeting with a detailed plan on what he's going to do. Guarantee it. because he has had nothing else to do except, well, actually, I think he owns some restaurants.
62 Wendy's. He went into that meeting with $150 of fast food and sold everyone. He had Big Bacon Deluxes everywhere, Dan.
He's got 62 Wendy's?
He owns 62 Wendy's.
Wow, isn't it fitting? I went to a Wendy's drive-thru with the kids yesterday, and I got a cherry Sprite, and I'm like, Wendy's. See, Wendy's is switching things up at the drive-thru. That's what the Leafs are going to be doing, switching things up, baby.
Phil Kessel would have loved playing for this guy.
Well, I'm glad we got to discuss that. I'm glad we got to talk Jays, and I'm glad the sun is shining, and we actually have a glimpse of summer today. See ya.